Hey guys, guess what? I just discovered the most challenging and most annoying way possible to play Skyrim. It's called being an Alteration Mage. Seriously, there is absolutely no reason to play this way. What is Alteration good for, Defense? You can get that with good armor and a shield. Paralyzing your enemies? You can do that with ice magic. Plus, ice magic will actually damage their health. What about transmuting iron ore to gold? You can earn much more money through alchemy and enchanting. Plus the fact that Alteration is a really expensive magic major in Skyrim, and you have absolutely no incentive to play as an Alteration Mage. But enough of that. My high elf character Elanya is here to prove to the world that she can make it as an Alteration Mage. No restoration spells, no enchanting, no alchemy, nothing from the other schools of magic. Of course, she still benefits from enchanted objects, potions, and the odd bit of smithing and tomb raiding, as one does in Skyrim. The tutorial sequence was pretty easy. All I had to do was stand back and let Hadvar do everything for me. Once we escaped from Helgen, I made a beeline for Riverwood with two goals in mind. One, sell my loot to purchase my first alteration spell, and two, get a bodyguard. Alteration magic has no offensive spells, which means if I want to protect myself effectively, I need someone willing to get their hands dirty. And for the low price of one forged leather, I was able to hire Sven to protect me. And when I say hire, I mean like an unpaid intern. I needed to invest all of my gold into robes and spellbooks and healing potions. But not to worry, Sven got paid with plenty of experience. Lots of experience. Now, although I'm using Sven to kill my enemies, that doesn't mean I can't ever attack an enemy. If push comes to shove, I have no problem punching a man in the face. Speaking of money, I had a great plan to earn lots and lots of money, the transmutation spell. All I needed was the spellbook and a good iron mine. So Sven and I hiked our way to Halted Stream Camp. Sven killed all the bandits, while I bravely hung back and spam casted oak flesh on myself. I harvested all the iron in the mine, transmuted it to gold, then took it to Whiterun to smith into jewelry, which gave me lots of money. But I couldn't rely entirely on Sven's capabilities for obvious reasons, so I took us on a boat ride to Solstheim to visit an ancient and powerful sorcerer, Neloth, who I heard sold unusual spells. Unfortunately, I was too poor to afford the good stuff, namely Ash Shell and Ash Rune, so I went back to Raven Rock to find some odd jobs that Sven could complete and that I could take credit for. The mayor's wife needed me to retrieve a book for her, so we went to the crash site, where I died at least a dozen times. While the bandits were distracted, I managed to grab a sack of loot, sell it, and then use that money to buy Ash Shell so I could at least help with the violence. Great news, Ash Shell is super effective at taking out enemies. Bad news, enemies take no damage when they're paralyzed. Basically, it just gives you a 30-second reprieve so you can hunt for loot. I managed to find the book, which... Why is it this book? I literally died so many times to find Crassius Curio's collected works. Why? Sindiri Arano, I demand an explanation. But sadly, I would receive no such explanation because Sindiri decided to join a cult. Which means that I played the rest of the game with this book stuck in my inventory. Well, there's other ways to get money. Sven and I returned to Skyrim proper and got a quest from the guy who runs the Riverwood Trader. Retrieve the Golden Dragon Claw. Cool. while Sven kept getting killed, I leveled up Sneak. When we returned to Riverwood, I took all the credit for my unpaid intern's efforts and received a fabulous cash prize. And then we went back to Solstheim to get the Ash Rune spell. Fun fact about Ash Runes: you can activate them with Mage Light to trap friendlies, and they won't ever get mad at you for it. Also gave the Dragonstone to the Wizard of Whiterun, which unfortunately summoned a dragon to the White Watch Tower. Great news, I was able to hide in the tower the entire time and still reap the rewards. And you guys know this part. I absorbed the dragon's soul, got summoned to the Greybeards, exchanged my old intern for a shiny new one, journeyed to High Hrothgar, and discovered that Delphine took my horn. The nerve of her. Anyways, instead of joining forces with Delphine immediately, I took Lydia on a field trip to Peryite's shrine. So as it turns out, in order to buy any spells from Tolfdir, the Alteration Master of Winterhold, you have to pass his introductory class, and I refuse to use any restoration spells, even though they would make my life exponentially easier. But Spellbreaker, Peryite's prize, casts a basic ward, which I could use as a substitute. It took about an hour and a half to get through the ruins, and most of that time was spent on Orchindor. I had to paralyze Lydia at one point to force her to heal before she tried to attack him at 1 health for the 10 millionth time. I kept shooting Ash Shell, but either he's immune to it, or he kept teleporting before the spell hit. Either way, my specific skill set was very unhelpful. Eventually, after a process of triggering Orchindor, spamming Oak Flesh, hiding behind some pipes, and letting Lydia take the brunt of the fight, his health had whittled down far enough that I could just punch him in the face. Then I did the Delphine quests, blah blah, you know the drill. Esbern wasn't too impressed with my mage skills, but for the first time, I had a team of competent warriors to do all the fighting work for me. Anyways, I finally made it to the part of the game where you can join the College of Winterhold without casting a single spell. You just have to tell the lady that you're the Dragonborn and shout at her, and she lets you in. After cheating at my first and only college lesson, I bought a bunch of spells from Tolfdir. And since I had 100 skill level and alteration at that point, I was able to trigger Tolfdir's alteration quest. Take a good look, fellas, cause this is the one and only time that I use water breathing in the entire game. In order to complete Tolfdir's quest, I needed to get a dagger called Kavozane's Fang, but the only way to get it is to defeat the dragon priest Hevnorak. Lydia was nearly useless as usual, so I had to put on a pair of steel brawler's gauntlets and punch the priest in his gut. If Lydia would just remember to use a sword or large hammer against a magic user instead of a plain hunter's bow, the battle would have ended a lot sooner. Just saying. So anyways, Lydia and I made it to Blackreach, and I thought it'd be a great idea to Fus Rodal the Sun Lantern to summon Vulthuriol to get his heart scales for Tolfdir's quest. Turns out, dragons are immune to paralysis. It took forever to kill Vulthuriol because he would take out Lydia in 5 hits, and every time I left the battle scene to wait so Lydia could heal, Vulthuriol also healed, so I had to break down and put on the Brawler's Gauntlet so we could kill him. Surprisingly, I was able to keep half my health by the end of the battle. I got the Heart Scales, the Elder Scroll, and Tolfdir's super special new spell Dragonhide, and returned to the throat of the world to fight the second hardest battle of the entire game. Lydia and Paarthurnax fought valiantly, but they were no match for Alduin's meteor shower. I also died many times. So the Dragonhide spell is super helpful because for 45 seconds, the caster ignores 80% of all physical damage. Which, combined with the discovery that I can just leave the battlefield to wait, is what allowed me to punch Alduin so many times that he flew away. And you know what happens next. Peace conference, summoning Odahviing, and flying away to Skuldolphin. Skuldolphin was surprisingly easy. All I had to do was cast Paralysis runes, Ash runes, and Mass Paralysis to freeze the Draugr long enough for me to solve the puzzles. And then I just ran past every single enemy and jumped into the portal with nary a scratch. Now, you might be wondering, if the battle on the throat of the world was the second hardest fight, then which was the first hardest? That would be my 1v1 with Soon. There's nothing like a god who represents strength in adversity, cracking your spine like a toothpick when you're at 80% health. My initial strategy was to cast Dragonhide, punch him a few times, then cast Ash Rune to whittle away his health. Unfortunately for me, Soon kept healing himself while paralyzed, so I couldn't make any progress. After trying and failing so many times, I thought I would have to break my own rules and use a weapon I had picked up in Skuldolphin. And it worked. I was able to take enough of his health that he let me inside the hall. But I felt so disappointed that I reloaded a save to see if I could defeat him with just my fists and Alteration Magic. And I did. Here was my winning strategy. Dragonhide, punch, run away, let my health bar recover, quick save, repeat. And oh my word, I almost can't believe that worked. Truly, my entry into the Hall of Valor was well earned. At last, we fought Alduin one last time. I supported the team by casting Dragonhide on myself and shouting Dragon Rend at every opportunity. Once my companions got him down to 1 health, I punched him in the nose and ended the destroyer of worlds. When I returned to Skyrim, I sold all my loot, only to realize that I still didn't have enough money to buy a house. Me, the hero of Skyrim, Master Alteration Mage, Vanquisher of Alduin, and friend to Paarthurnax and Odahviing, still too poor to buy my own house. Well, not to worry, there's plenty of free real estate in Skyrim, and with some fresh boards, new glass for the windows, and some curtains, I could make myself a nice cozy home. Yeah, I could make something out of this. Anyways, thanks for watching. 1 like equals 1 gold coin to support a poor Alteration Mage in your area. See you on the other side.